Hello, hello. My name is Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Curious Sunshine, where we talk about play. I talk about what it means to have a playful mindset, stepping into playful living, using play as a tool for liberation, and how I've used play to either amplify my life or get myself out of sticky situations. Um, yeah, I'm excited to post this video because I feel like this conversation that we are going to talk about is something super important. But before I even dive into what we're talking about, like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with someone who you think it would benefit. And without further ado, let's dive in. So, today I want to talk about good play versus bad play. Because I think when we talk about play, we kind of just run wild with it and say, yes, let's do it. But with most things, play is on a spectrum. And there is a point where play stops becoming play. And it starts becoming something else that is not playful at all. And so I want to go over what play is first. Okay, I want to go over what play is first, and then we can kind of talk about the nuances between that. So, yeah. To overview, if I haven't before, which I might have, but whatever. Play is when you're doing something that you genuinely enjoy, that brings you happiness. It brings you into the present moment, and it kind of like recalibrates your mind, body, and heart together. And is also this like divine act, the sacred act where you're kind of allowing yourself to vibrate at this high state of living. And I also relate play closely to the vibration of love, because when we're in this state of like super joy, I feel like it's high vibrational and very close to how we feel when we're in these feelings of love. And I can dive into that, but to prevent going on a tangent, let's dive into like what is not that. What is not any of what I just said? So I think the first one is play is no longer play if there is malice intent or harm, right? And I think of like bullying, right? When you have like a bully and they do something and they laugh and they're like, I was just playing. No, you weren't. You were being mean. There's no play in there. When we're playing, both people are having a good time. Both people are understanding that play is involved, or are able to get into a playful state of mind within that circumstance. And so there's this power play when it comes to this line between play and not play. So if the person in power or that has control is doing something that other people aren't enjoying, regardless of whether that person in power is enjoying themselves, it's not playful. It's mean. And it's bullying, or it's anything very similar to those words. So being very cognizant of that. And I use bully as an example because normally when someone's like, I was just playing. No, you weren't. You're being mean. And, we like to use the word play as a way to not hold ourselves accountable for when we're doing something that has a more malicious intent behind it. So if you're on the other end of that, definitely feel free to be like, that's not play. That is not playing. I was not having fun. That is not fun for me. And so, if you're able to even come out of that not laughing, because you can also think of like pranks, right? There are, and it's like the jump scares, right? There are some, there's a fine line between that as well, where, if I'm not aware of the joke, but you play it on me and I scream and jump and then I laugh after, then okay, yeah, then this is fine. But if you jump scare me and I'm like traumatized after, is it play? Or are you just being mean and trying to, make yourself laugh? And so really like being able to tell the difference, because some people like being scared. Like, as someone who's a scaredy cat, I will not step foot into a one of those Halloween haunted houses. But like, if I'm watching a movie or if I'm hanging out with a friend and you jump and scare me, and it's good enough, like, I'll laugh, and I'm not like gonna like hold anything against you, but I will get you back. So keep your eyes out. So there's this fine line, right, between what's good play and what's bad play. And it really does depend on the person you're playing with. So just being aware and using your discernment when it comes to what you feel is playful and what others feel is playful. And if you like that kind of play and the person you're playing with does not like that kind of play, that's okay. There's other people in this world that will resonate with that and will, be able to volley back and forth with you on these types of plays. I also, I also think of video games and sports and anything competitive, right? It's fun to be competitive. Competition is a type of play. And I think what makes that turn into not play is if you really have like this visceral angry reaction, right? And we see this especially in like sporting events where you have like one side of the stadium or field having one team and then the other side the other team, and everyone's like, yeah, yes, we want our team to win. It stops being play when people are fighting. Why are you punching someone? Why are you causing someone physical harm because your team's not winning or your team won? Or like even video games, like, why are you throwing your controller and breaking your stuff because you lost, right? Or you're losing, right? And so really thinking of our own emotional regulation when it comes to play. If you're not able to regulate your emotion in the certain type of play, maybe you shouldn't play it, or maybe you shouldn't participate until you're able to have the proper emotional regulation awareness to enjoy it. Because there's plenty of people in this world that are able to play these games or participate in these said games or competitions that can lose and not be a sore loser, or can win and not be a jerk about it. Because there is that. Like, you can be a sore loser and be upset that you lost, but you can also be a jerk when you win and like rub it in people's face like a little too much. And so that is, another example of what's good play and what's bad play. And that brings me to my next kind of point in this, is that good play versus bad play also has a spectrum of how we do it in excess. So, it's one thing to, and I'm going to keep using video games as this example because I like playing video games, and I know that this can cover lots of ground in this. So what I mean by in excess is, are you playing when you have free time, or, setting time aside to play for your mental health, which I think is totally valid, right? If you want to, every Saturday night, right, you want to dedicate your evenings to playing video games because it makes you feel good and you get to, play the game that makes you happy. Go online, play with your friends, beat the next level or whatever. I think that's totally valid. But if that's like the only thing you look forward to, maybe do some self-reflection. Also, if you're ignoring other important things in your life, Like if you're ignoring your hygiene, or you're ignoring your household things, your homework, your work, your family, right? If you're ignoring these things to dive into this form of play, rather it is video games, rather it is art, rather it is writing, right? If you're ignoring these basic necessities to uphold being a human, then it's probably not play anymore. It's probably escapism, it's probably addiction, it's probably, these other things that aren't play, right? Play is something that's healthy. Play is something that you do when you're enjoying yourself. This is something that you could bring other people along into the experience with you, or something that you like playing by yourself. But knowing that there's these standards of what play is. And a big part of that is, checking to make sure it's something healthy that you're doing, right? And you're not doing something in such an excess that it's letting these other things that are also important fall by the wayside. So really checking if your play is something that you can easily, turn off, right? If I'm drawing or painting and I have another project or an errand that I have to run, that I can easily just put the art down for a second, it's not going anywhere, and then go handle what I need to handle and then get back to it. But if it's a moment where it's like, I'm ignoring everything because this is the most important, I'd say, you know what? This is time to put it down. Time to put it down and maybe think about why I'm doing this, what's going on in my life to where I feel like I need to escape, or that I need to do this so much, and switch it up to another play style, or go do something that you need to do with your life. Yes, and so I'm sure that there's so many other examples and points that I can make about good play versus bad play, but I think this is a good start. Just as, we dive into playful mindset and playful living, it's really a good idea for us to have regulation for ourselves on when we are in the state of play, and when we're in the state of something that's detrimental to our well-being, and checking in with how we play with other people, right? And I know there's a fine line between what is good play and what is bad play, right? As a jokester, right, sometimes we like to roast and have fun with our friends, and it can get a little spicy. But also that's where we use our discernment and say, okay, maybe that joke was a little too much for that person. So really diving into that, whether it's through an apology or, really diving into hey, I'm sorry if I meant it that I didn't, even if you did mean it that way, sorry, I didn't know it was going to hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry, and really being genuine. And I think that's a good component of this is also being genuine. In our approaches, even if it's backtracking and saying, okay, well, maybe we played a little too hard, right? I'm sorry. And so going back and self-correcting, I think, is important as well. Is there anything else? No, I don't think so. Is there any situations in your life where you realized that something that you thought was playful was actually not so good? Put in the comments. Share any feedbacks or thoughts that you had about this video in regards of what's good play versus bad play. Put it in there. I'm sure other people would like to know this as well. And I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and thank you for playing.